17 not admitted without parents or guardian.
Good evening, fans of fantastic films, and welcome to the Drive-In Asylum double feature. I'm Bill Van Ryn from Fanzine Drive-In Asylum, and already everyone's getting excited. Sam Panico from BNS About Movies, and Gene from the Super Drive-In Monster-Rama. So welcome, guys.
Music's great. I'm still enjoying the music.
I think there was a delay, so
I
I'm
was
going to
just
start.
enjoying the beat. The rhythm got.
I know, but you shouldn't have even been hearing it because it ended about 30 seconds ago. So
It's
there's
still in
like
my heart.
there's some kind of delay going on here. So in case you couldn't hear me over the music, hi, welcome to the Drive-In Asylum double feature. I'm Bill Van Ryn from Fanzine Drive-In Asylum and Facebook page Groovy Doom. And to my right is Sam Panico of BNS About Movies. And you notice in the box down there is Gene from the Super Drive-In Monster-Rama. So welcome.
Thanks, guys. How are you tonight?
I am really excited to be doing the show tonight, and I bet Sam is going to say the same thing.
I'm very nice. I've only seen one of these movies, so I'm super excited about it. So this is really exciting for me. So,
I didn't realize that.
Yep. Being attacked by a sorcerer.
It's Cubby.
He's got the fangs just like those girls. He's just got like two of those fangs in his mouth, just like them.
So, yeah, I want to start off talking about the director, Amando de Ossorio, which I fell in love with many years ago after seeing, I think maybe Night of the Sorcerers. I can't remember if Fangs of the Living Dead or actually Night of the Sorcerers was my first film by Amando de Ossorio, or even maybe Horror of the Zombies. I'm thinking probably Horror of the Zombies, but I saw this on Schiller Theater here in Pittsburgh, and Bill looked it up actually, February 1980. Was it February 9th, 1980, you said, Bill?
Yeah, exactly. It was 1 a.m. It was when Chiller was bumped to a really late time slot,
Right.
And Saturday Night Live finally pushed it back.
With Chiller, with Bill Cardille, of course, hosting this movie, and I had no idea from the description and the TV guide what I was in for the next hour and a half, 2 hours. I did not expect vampire leopard women on a safari and that's what we're going to see, because Amando de Ossorio, all of his films, they're either beautiful killer women, or they're victims of some horrible monsters, but they're always sexy models with no other purpose than to be victimized sexy models. So it's one of my absolute favorites. I brought this tonight to show you guys. It's available. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
Shout Factory actually put it out. Someone should be doing should have done a Amando de Ossorio actually like a film box collection, like you've seen from like some of the boutique labels. But we have on it Night of the Sorcerer, and we have The Grasp of the Lorelei, which is another one of his genius movies involving a beautiful woman who's a monster at a girls' school. It's sort of a mystery killer film, but again, like most Italian cinema, the cinema of Amando de Ossorio, and I believe he was Spanish. It's
That would be right.
suspension of disbelief. You know, it's like an acid trip. You simply tune
To
in,
say the
and
least.
whatever the fuck happens. So yeah,
The suspension of disbelief is essential in his
absolutely.
films.
Right, and you can totally get this. And you know, I think Shout also has out Malenka, Fangs of the Living Dead, which was also shown on Chiller Theater in Pittsburgh. Sorry, my voice is coming and going tonight. The professional voice. It's been a rough week. And anyway, also the Living Dead movies have been coming out, or the Blind Dead rather, have been coming out sporadically. But I guess, and one of you two, I know, Sam, you're like the label expert. I guess George said at one time there was a difficulty with the copyrights and licensing for all of them to come together from one label. So I know that Synapse just put out a wonderful little sort of like a collector set for Tombs of the Blind Dead. And there's a lot of German labels that have put out better copies if you don't have the DVD set. But anyway, it's a must. And I have to tell everyone watching, you have to check out all of his other movies. I know Bill's been a big fan for years. There's a ripoff of Exorcist called Demon Witch Child, which is incredible. It's I believe it's like Amon de Nomia is the name of it in Spanish, and it's brilliant. There's a terrible Loch Ness monster movie called The Sea Serpent, which was one of the last things he did. That's absolutely entertaining, and I can't think what else. Are there any other ones besides that? The Blind Dead, and seems like there should be another one in there. Maybe there isn't, but they're all wonderful films. So I'm excited to be here tonight with you guys. So that's all I got.
Well, thank you for giving it to us all at once.
Yeah, exactly.
I was hoping to maybe tease it out a little bit.
With my voice, I'm sorry. I apologize, but that's...
So, Sam, this is the movie that you haven't seen the first one, right? Night of the Sorcerers.
Right, exactly. I have not seen the first one.
Wow.
I'm excited for you to see.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I just watched The Grasp of the Lorelei on Tubi about a week ago, and I can confirm the print on Tubi is really nice. So it's probably from the same Blu-ray you have.
Sure, I'm guessing it is.
Great.
Right.
Yeah. The other ones he did do a spaghetti western. Well,
yes,
a paella western, I should say, because it's Spanish. Grave of the Gunfighter and Three from Colorado. He did those two. And Field of Beasts, which is a children's movie, and one comedy. And then after that, it's pretty much all nearly, the Blind Dead movies. He did two adult films too, The Vermin and Forbidden Passion, before The Sea Serpent, which is his last movie.
Right.
But yeah, mostly in the U.S., we mostly know them for the Blind Dead movies. And I just want to say that I love that Night of the Seagulls has some of the craziest titles, like Don't Go Out at Night, Death Call, Night of the Death Call, Night of the Seagulls, and Terror Beach. It's like, that's what I love about these movies. It's like, what do we call them? I always give them 30 titles.
It wasn't one called "And the Screaming Starts" or "When the Screaming Stops."
When the Screaming Stops, yeah.
That was The Grasp of the Lorelei.
Yeah.
That's on the second segment.
Right.
Yeah.
You know we're watching that second, right, Gene?
I'm very excited to see that second tonight. Actually, yeah, I'm not gonna ruin that one. Sorry.
No, I mean, you showed that beautiful bloat.
And like all of his films, they kind of exist within. They're your horror. They exist within its own strange world, and it's a little different. It has a little bit in common with the Italian films, but not totally. And he's pretty wild in what he does. Lorelei's Grasp is fucking crazy, so I'm excited to watch that. I'm really excited to see this first one because you guys might know I like warlock and sorcerers and the occult, so maybe I'll be super excited about it.
I'll be impressed if you can recognize anything from real legend in this movie. This sort of invents all of its mythology itself. So,
but I think that's pretty great, you know.
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, isn't Jack Taylor in the first one, and Night of the Sorcerers, who appeared in quite a
Yes.
few of the Italian horror films, Spanish horror
Yeah,
films? It
he
was
was
not,
also in a couple of the westerns, the first western
right.
that Osorio did too.
He has that look. So,
Yeah,
but
yeah, this really gets into everything that I like about movies, so I'm really excited. Just the trailers alone got me super excited.
yeah,
Demon
was
Witch Child.
Also, I'm
Go
super
ahead.
glad that Ed survived the storm again. I saw that Ed checked himself in, so congratulations for making it through another tropical storm or hurricane, whatever it ended up being this time.
I didn't know we had a hurricane in Florida this time.
Yeah, Nicole. I know because one of my employees is in Orlando, so I have to constantly check in on her.
Right,
so,
right.
Yeah, that's how it happens. And Andy, yeah. Also, yeah, R.I.P. William Olson.
Bill Olson passed away from Code Red DVD. I know he had a very strange reputation.
Yeah,
I think it's not going too far to mention that, but you know, he did so much to bring these movies to us,
Right.
and just rescue some of these films from obscurity. And a lot of them were like he did Beyond the Door. I think he did a really nice version of Beyond the Door, and a couple other things I know that I was just dying to see on Blu-ray. Bill brought them to DVD and Blu-ray, so he will be missed.
Yeah. Bill, I had a crazy day today. I sent you pictures from it. From the if you want to see, I don't know if you have them to show.
I don't have them yet. I just remembered that you emailed them to me when you mentioned.
We'll show them in a bit. I went to a toy show in Youngstown today, where Jesse Ventura was, which was pretty wild. $175 to get a photo. Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't do that. But there was a table full of old Lightning Video and Wizard Video long boxes, real ones, not ones that people mysteriously found in their warehouse, and all the Elvira long boxes, as well as a ton of vinyl. And holy shit, a midnight vinyl of the soundtrack for $80. I didn't get it. It was really hard to pass it up. I had it in my hands for quite a bit. And also, they had every Halloween special effect, sound effect album that you love, and they were all way too expensive.
Wow. That email you sent me didn't have any attachments, Sam. So no, I don't have those photos.
Well, let me see. Let's try that again. How about that?
Okay.
Yeah, let's try it. We'll try it, and then through the magic of the internet, maybe it'll work, right? But anyway, that was my day. I literally just got back from Youngstown from the show, and it was pretty fun, actually. Didn't buy anything. So I spent a lot of money to walk around and look at stuff. But, it was only $5 to get in. It wasn't too bad.
I didn't even know that was going on this weekend. I was only aware of Monster Mania outside of Philadelphia this weekend, because I know a lot of people in the business that are there tonight, and I hope it's a good show.
Yeah, they have a lot of great guests for that one. They always do that.
Isn't Robert Englund there again for the 4 millionth time?
Yeah, but still, I'm sure there might be someone that,
He's got to be expensive, Robert Englund.
Oh, yeah.
I have no idea what he's charging now. I know that he's a fantastic guest from the professional side of the shows, and the fans absolutely adore him. He goes the extra mile for people. He's a very good supporter of the community and stuff, so he does very well. I think he's coming back to Pittsburgh again, isn't he? Or thought I saw him scheduled.
I think so, yeah.
So
the other thing I was amazed at, I just sent it to you again, hopefully it works this time, was they had the American Werewolf in London inspired Miko disco album, which I had never seen.
Wow.
Yeah, so pretty exciting.
You can listen to that on YouTube. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. I was like, holy shit, and I was like, $65. No, it's okay. But yeah. But yeah, there's a lot of figures, a lot of horror movie figures and stuff. Also, Bill, someone had a ton of rack toys, which are the toys that got sold in drugstores, and a lot of James Bond rack toys, and a lot of like famous monsters era cheap
Wow.
toys. So it
Wow.
was a lot of stickers and stuff like that. Topps card, like the old collector's cards and stuff. So, but everything's, everybody prices stuff. And they're always like, "Well, make an offer to me." I'm like, such is life.
Impressive.
Yeah.
Where was it located in Youngstown?
At the Canfield Fairgrounds, which is pretty huge. Yeah.
Yeah, I know where that is. Right.
Yes, and they're gonna have another one at the Cavelli Center in July with guests. Haven't announced anybody yet, but that's like where YSU is, and they do shows. So I guess it's going to be a pretty huge show. So I'm excited for that. So it should be good.
God, these files are ginormous.
I'm sorry, they came off my phone. The video is probably way too big. So.
Oh, there's a video. Yeah, if I download that now, we're going to lose the broadcast.
Yeah, I'll send it to you in between for later.
Oh, you have footage to show. You got footage to show.
Well, let me see how it came out. I can tell you what videos they had. How about that? That might be a better use of my time. At the Elvira table, they had the House that Bled to Death, Visitor from the Grave. Let's see, the Monster Club long box, The Faces of Death 2 long box, Tales from the Dark Side, the Thriller video versions of the TV show. So a lot of really, I thought it was a Loreley's Grass, but it wasn't. That would have tied in way too good. But these were like $65 for a long box. Also, a Kind That Dreaded Sundown clamshell, which blew my mind. And
download that now.
It was $40, so it was a little too expensive.
Why did I hear my voice all of a sudden?
Because I'm monitoring you on the phone because I can't see at all. I can't see the feed. So yeah, now I'm watching you on the phone too. So, but
watching you twice.
I am. I can read the phone much better. The teleprompter on the phone for questions than I can.
There we go. There's the Midnight soundtrack. How beautiful that cover is. Super excited.
What's the band's name? Quintessence.
Quintessence, yeah.
Very nice.
I said to Becca, I said, who really wants this other than me? I don't think anybody else wants this. So, and there's the Miko American Werewolf in London.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah. I really love that. And the Weird Tales of the Unknown.
I feel like I had this record, but I checked my collection on Discogs and it's not in there. So maybe I don't.
Yeah, and here's Monsters. I guess a garage band of monsters. I've never seen this before.
That probably was like $500 or something.
Yeah, exactly. They're doing I'm sure Monster Mash is one of their songs.
I bet.
I mean, yeah. This is Stereorific with John Stewart Anderson, Dracula's Guest, the Werewolf. That cover is amazing. It probably the most fun photo session ever. This is the Occult Explosion. It's an entire album exploring a spoken word exploration of the occult.
Oh,
this was only 20, and I almost got it. It was a double album. How did I pass that up? Now I'm kicking myself.
It's highly instructional.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe I could have fixed my furnace with that. You could put that on and had some little deities come in and fix it.
You can throw it at zombies too.
It would have been a lot cheaper than fixing your furnace.
Yeah, I mean $20 for your soul. That seems cheaper than most of the times I've got my furnace fixed. And this is the Night Watch. No idea what this is, but a very Tales from the Crypt.
Wow!
Cover. You can see how many vinyls were there.
Wow!
Yeah,
amazing.
And the Halloween 3 soundtrack.
Faris Saraban, right?
Yep.
I can remember when it was brand new, seeing it in a record store.
And it was for sale in the back of Fangoria and Starlog, right?
Oh, yeah.
The Famous Monsters. I always think about that ad, Gene, and I'm like, oh, if only I could get a message to me back then. Be like, just buy everything in there.
Yeah, I know, right?
Buy 5 copies of each one. I don't care how much it costs. And in 40 years, you're going to be able to pay your mortgage for a year by selling them.
It's amazing too, because so much of this stuff has become reissued and so much of it hasn't become reissued. And I'm surprised that horror soundtracks haven't reached an apex like band vinyls have now. You would think to see a
Yeah.
little more of it out there because of the whole collector's market, but there is some of it coming out. I mean, there are some boutique labels that are like kind of like, for instance, like we have Fright Rags and Cavity Colors and Paul Bear Express for like amazing T-shirts. Like the T-shirts coming out. The one I'm wearing tonight is I think from Paul Bear Express. They did like a whole series of House of, by the cemetery. And I want to point out to people watching this tonight, back in those days, we didn't have any of this stuff. So it's amazing to be alive in a time today where you have a text message come from Fright Rags and say, we're doing a whole series of Maniac shirts. I mean, when we were watching Maniac, we would never have considered that T-shirts would be available for such an obscure movie. And I think that's the same thing that needs to happen with the vinyl. I've seen some, am I mistaken, or did the soundtrack?
Yeah, there's one label that puts out a lot, like Mondo puts out some stuff.
Argento.
A bunch of labels now. Death Waltz.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, they're starting to, some of the Argento soundtracks from back in the day.
They had some of the Death Waltz ones there. They were $75 each. For
Of course they were. They're limited.
Yes,
they're limited.
Becca debated getting it. We were looking at it, and it's like,
They did a pressing of, oh, Sam, here's your midnight thing for $80.
Yeah, I know. And I was like,
I remember there was a pressing of the Friday the 13th soundtrack, and there were 10 copies that were pressed in a clear vinyl with blood on the inside.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And those are worth like thousands of dollars or something.
Well, of course,
some crazy amount of
if you
money.
guys want for this, look, this one's great. The Demon Possessed Boy.
Yeah,
Okay.
What's this?
That's a theme album.
Yeah. I have the Halloween box set that Mondo put out. If you guys want me to bring it up.
I think that's a project by The Cure before they were The Cure. It's an early project by Robert Smith and Noel Tallhurst.
It's
a great. I just love the cover, and I said I should probably capture this for the show.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have the Halloween box set of the first 5 movies, and we have the Salem's Lot set, which is really nice. Yeah.
Oh wait, the Salem's Lot soundtrack.
Yeah.
Wow.
You want me to bring it up, Bill? I'll go get it. It's 5 feet away. I'll go get it.
Yeah, grab
It's
it.
okay. I mean, that was something that I considered. I almost pulled the trigger on, and I didn't. And I should have.
What, back in the day?
No, it was only a couple years ago. It was like on sky blue, night sky vinyl or something like that. These new pressings always have a trendy colored vinyl.
Of course.
Swirl. And then there's the standard black, and you're like, oh, I feel almost ripped off if I just buy that when there was a fog white vinyl pressing of the Fog.
Right. I bought the Dark Shadows one that was on purple. I bought like 2 copies of that when they came out because I have the original on vinyl from back in the day.
Thanks.
I have the soundtrack for Shockwaves, and it's on seafoam green vinyl.
That's impressive. I had
That's
no
kind of
idea.
cool.
This is
All right,
the
here we go.
Halloween set.
Wow! Holy shit!
Yeah, and it's amazing. Each one has a totally different artist doing the cover. That's the 2.
That's great.
Yeah. And the vinyls are all orange or colored vinyl. They're
Wow.
really nice. Yeah. I love the 5 one.
Of course, that weighs a ton of that set you're holding.
Oh, yeah.
Don't drop it on your foot.
There's the 3 one, which it all looks like this inside.
Ha ha.
They're really cute. It's got a really nice look to it, and it comes with all different little cards from the movie, which is kind of cool. And then there's one is just like rain covered, and you can see his face.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow,
they did a really nice
That's
job on
impressive.
this.
That's very impressive.
This is Becca's Christmas gift, I think last year or the year before. And the vinyl themselves are really cool.
Yeah.
Splattered.
Good stuff.
And then, let's see, we got Salem's Lot. Franco
Oh wow!
Francobella, who's a comic book artist, did all the art for it.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and then the inside is really cool.
Yeah,
Oh,
you know
that movie is
that
so scary.
yeah, it's such a well-produced TV movie. It's amazing.
Yeah,
It's still kind of frightening to this day, really. I mean, it's hard
and
to
then the
admit that.
colors of the like I
Wow.
love the yeah. They did a really nice job putting this set together. Like it's really beautiful. And I don't know what color the other one is. I haven't even got into the other one. We listened to this one day while we were cleaning. It's good cleaning music. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and it has the house on the other side when you watch it on the other side.
Gene, do you remember in the 80s when Depeche Mode had all those German vinyl 12 inches that were like that?
Yes, I do actually.
They were all these splatter vinyl and
Yes, yes. Yeah, I do. I totally do. Yeah.
And then my last soundtrack I brought up, and this is not a reissue, but I'm still amazed that I found this for $1 down the street.
Mondo Connie too.
Yeah.
That's all.
How? How did they have this? Is literally at the bottom of my hill. I got this for $1.
That's weird.
Yeah, but it's in perfect shape too. It's really nice for.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, Mondo Connie was actually whoever sold it had a ton of Italian movies. Nothing we would care about.
Right.
But a lot of like romance movies, and then this. So
Wow.
that's what I got. Thanks for letting me show those off.
Obscure.
Yeah, the Halloween ones are really wild. That was a bear to carry up the steps. It's a pretty heavy set.
So it might not come as a surprise, but Night of the Sorcerers never got a theatrical release in the United States.
Really?
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest reason why this remains so obscure.
Right.
A lot of people, when I talk to them about this movie, they don't even know anything about this movie or that it even exists. So that's kind of cool about Night of the Sorcerers, is it's not overhyped, and a lot of people don't talk about it unless you're an expert in Spanish films, Spanish horror.
It's also not in widescreen on the Blu-ray either. It's in what's the aspect ratio? 13.5 or something, full frame. Yeah, it's not which I thought was unusual. I had no idea. I mean, I think all of his other releases are on widescreen. So
it could have been the way it was shot, but it also could be because it was sold to television
right
in the 70s.
Right. Absolutely.
After it played theatrically in Europe, it of course never played theatrically here in the States, but in 76 is when it started showing up on American TV. And we were talking before the show about where we first saw this movie, and Gene, you first saw this on Chiller Theater.
Yep.
Back in the day.
Probably after I watched, it was interesting for people that are tuning in that weren't part of that whole, time period. What had happened was Saturday Night Live was actually across the United States, 11:30, whatever Eastern Standard Time. And because of Bill Cardell's popularity, Channel 11 wasn't showing Saturday Night Live. They went against the network's orders and were not showing it. And then eventually that came to an end, and then Chiller Theater got pushed back to 1 a.m. And it was funny because I didn't even realize that had happened until George told me. And one of the first things that George told me, when we first met, was, wow, Pittsburgh, you guys never allowed Saturday Night Live to be the first season to be shown, because of Chiller Theater. But I had Channel 9 from Steubenville, Ohio, which was also an NBC affiliate. So I had the choice between Saturday Night Live or the first feature of Chiller Theater. But anyway, the point is, 1 o'clock in the morning, I remember turning on the TV that night, 1980, laying on the living room floor, and there was Night of the Sorcerers. And it was a complete mind fuck to me because, you're there in 1980, whatever age I was, I don't even remember. And I'm like, holy shit, because what did we see on TV? I watched the AIP films and Hammer films on, CBS Slate Movie, and also, what was on the afternoon, Bill? Like, not even mainly Universal movies. A lot of the Roger Corman stuff and whatever was prevalent in the Pittsburgh market. The Allied Artist AIP American syndication packages with Gamera and Godzilla. So for me, this was like a whole departure in 1980. It was like, what the hell? My mind was literally blown by this movie, and it's undescribable. You'll see tonight after you watch it, how weird it is. To be honest with you, it's not what you expect at all.
That's my big takeaway from this. I wouldn't have known what to do with Night of the Sorcerers as a kid because it doesn't play by any particular rule book. It's a bunch of different things. It's a vampire movie. It's voodoo monsters, ghosts. There's like a ghost element to it, and then there's an animal element to it too. Not 100%, but there's like some threatening animal action in it.
Yeah,
it's all over the place.
Yeah. Well, you know what? The one thing, though, not spoiling the movie, but we'll watch for the scene. There's a scene in this movie similar to the Blackula film where there's something happens where they're developing film. That's a whole nother. And I made that connection as a kid. I was like, wow, this is like what happened in that Blackula.
It's a mini genre. Well, it's scary. Right. Talk about tapping into people's fears. Have you ever actually been in a dark room?
Yes, in college. Creepy. Yes, in college.
It's really creepy. I remember if you want to do it old school, you have to turn out all the lights and just do it completely blind. That's how you have to load it.
I mean, isn't that you can say that for so many things.
What's that?
If you want to do it old school, you got to turn out all the lights and just do it completely blind.
Yeah.
I've been there.
Sometimes it's better that way.
Anyway,
Chris brought up too that this is part of the Nightmare Theater package, which has some amazing movies. And by the way, if you guys are looking to find those, a ton of those have just come out on Blu-ray, if I may, Bill. The Witch just came out from Arrow last week on that awesome Gothic Fantastica set, which is fucking awesome.
It sure did.
Yep. The Hatchet for the Honeymoon, we've shown before, a great movie. Marta, which we're going to show. Bill knows how much I love Marta. I do a ridiculous degree. Dear Dead Delilah, the only American movie in the Nightmare Theater package. Witch's Mountain, which just came out from Mondo Macabro.
Right, yes.
A movie that's never come out in its full release in the U.S., which is super exciting. Fury of the Wolfman. I don't know if anybody here likes that movie, right?
Oh, no. I don't like anything by Paul Naschy.
Well, and that's a funny thing here, because if you look tonight, you guys are watching this next feature coming up, you'll notice the similarity between the werewolf versus the vampire woman. There are some very similar makeup and filming techniques, which are, you see, it became like, to me, like, okay, so I guess this happens in all Spanish horror films. I don't know, I mean, I'm not sure who was influenced by who. I mean, do you think maybe Paul Naschy's work influenced Amando de Ossorio? I would have no knowledge of this. I don't know. But
popcorn with a stick of butter, Vince. I bet your doctor gets a lot of mileage. I'm kidding, Vince. I know you're in very good health.
Doom Watch, Murder Mansion, which is another one I love.
I love Murder Mansion. Oh my God.
It's great. Horror Rises from the Tomb, which again I know Bill loves. Death Smiles on a Murderer, which I love, which is a Joe D'Amato
Yep.
film, and that played on Chiller Theater too, 2 times in '79 and '81, which is crazy that played uncut on Chiller Theater. A Bell from Hell, which I love. Night of the Sorcerers and The Mummy's Revenge. So the Nightmare Theater package has got some great movies in it, and it was in a past issue of Drive-In Asylum.
The people at Chiller Theater Channel 11 had, the reality is, it's so funny because it was always lampooned on Second City TV with Count Floyd. They didn't know what they were getting until it arrived. And over the years, I got to know Bill Cardille very well, and I would kid Bill about that, and Bill would say, I don't know what the hell was going on. We just filmed these segments, we were never there live. I'm like, gee, Bill, thanks for ruining my childhood. I mean, I never thought they were live. I knew it was pre-recorded, but, it was so funny because when Bill was doing shows, people were always coming up to him and saying, remember that time you showed Fangs of the Living Dead? And Bill would politely say, yeah, that was a great movie. It's like he had no idea, nor did he care. It was
he didn't even watch them.
No, he had no idea.
It's funny. The comic book artist Steve Bissett grew up in New York, and he said that when they first played Blood and Black Lace on New York TV, nobody watched it. Like nobody who at the station watched it, and it was uncut. And he called all his friends the next day. He goes, "It's going to play in 2 more days. It's got so much sex in it and violence, like it's crazy." And he goes, and someone noticed between those 2 days, and they chopped out like 10 minutes of the movie. And he like, everybody's like, "Oh, you had to be lying." But he's like, "How could I prove what I saw?" This was like 1972 or 73.
Well, it's factual evidence now on the internet that
Yeah.
Channel 11 ran, Chiller Theater ran "Don't Go in the Basement" out of order. And they ran the first reel, the second reel first, and the first. And I saw that, and it was like, what the hell is going on? And, years later, because there was no internet back then, you just thought you were nuts. Is that how I remembered it? And then I remember when the internet first became more, I would say filled full of worthless information because everybody knows everything. I found it under maybe the Wikipedia page or something that said Channel 11 in Pittsburgh actually ran the film out of order. So that's another thing Triller Theater is famous for, is airing that movie incorrectly. The beginning.
Superhost accidentally, when they played The Thing one time, they didn't have the last reel.
Okay.
So James Arness actually came in person one time and apologized for the movie being screwed up.
Wow.
And it was pretty funny that they got like
in costume.
He must have been in Cleveland. He was in Cleveland for the day, and he was like threatening Superhost, like, "Don't ever screw up my movie again." It was pretty exciting as a kid. Like, wow, like these, this little show's got big stars on it.
That's one of the first shows, one of the first movies I ever watched that I really remember watching was Howard Hawks' The Thing with my dad. Yeah. My dad saw that in the theater. How weird is that? Wow. Yeah, I mean, he was older, my dad, so.
Good times.
Yeah, he saw that in the theater, and it was so funny because he saw a lot of those movies in the theater. James Bond films and stuff at drive-ins. And my mom told me after I was born, she was so happy that I was around to go see those terrible movies with my dad because she hated being dragged home. That's what she told me.
I have a very vivid memory of James Bond movies with my dad because he would say to me, I remember in the scene in Live and Let Die with the alligators.
Right.
He made me come into the room and he's like, "You might never see this again," because this is like 77 or 78. He's like, "Watch what James Bond does." And I remember being like, wow. So like that was like a big thing in our house, was to all watch those together.
Right, on Sunday nights. ABC ran those on Sunday nights. Sometimes 9 to 11:30. Actually, they preempted the news was on late. So it was a big thing when ABC had the right to those films, and ABC ran them on Sunday nights. That's how I saw it.
They had an attaché case today at that toy show with just James Bond of Walter. It was like a kid's version of it, and they had a Moonraker figure too, which I used to have.
Oh my God, Moonraker!
I really need this figure again.
I remember when the toys came out from Moonraker, but the thing about it is, I know that James Bond purists hate Moonraker, but I've always had a soft spot for that film because
I love Moonraker.
It's one of the best soundtracks that for any Bond film, and actually the cinematography, the scope of where they went all over the world and how it's edited and everything, and Derek Meddings and Barry Gray combined together with the music and the soundtrack, or actually John Barry with the soundtrack. It's a British movie. It's such a great over the top film,
I think what people forget about James Bond movies today is like people couldn't travel like they can today. So a lot of those movies functioned as a travelogue.
And you know what? I always thought it was, I think You Only Live Twice was a big inspiration, of course, for the Austin Powers films. Yeah. But he got so much out of Moonraker because Hugo Drax was a complete caricature. The villain was such a complete caricature. And I always go back to that line where James Bond he sees him and he says, "Mr. Bond, what does he say? You return with the infrequency of an unpopular season." I mean, the writing was so ridiculous. It was funny as hell.
Well, Mike Myers had a similar upbringing to us. He watched Eurospy movies with his dad.
Right, exactly.
So, there's a lot of Dr. Goldfoot in both Austin Powers.
Oh, yeah. Yes, there is. Totally.
A lot of Mad Helm. So he really knows his influences. That's why I love those movies.
I love the Mad Helm movies growing up. I thought they were.
I have the out-of-print box set. It's one of my favorite weird things I have downstairs.
They were fun.
Huh?
They were really a lot of fun. Dean Martin trying to be a spy was ridiculous, right?
I love him, so I have nothing bad to say about those movies. I like Flint the most, probably Danger Diabolic and
Yes.
OK Connery. Operation Kid Brothers.
I was gonna say to you, Operation Kid Brother. I saw that featuring Sean Connery's brother, literally.
And everybody else that has ever been in a James Bond movie and a John Barry score. It's like,
yes.
What? Like,
I remember they ran that. Did ABC run that on a Sunday night? Operation Kid Brother. Yeah, I remember that and thought, wow, why isn't
it's
this
the most
actually
ripoff? It's such a ripoff that it's become its own film.
I was going to mention that, but you got it first, right?
Sorry. Hey, Bill, I'm going to make a drink. How about that?
All right.
This is the Warlock. This is a really simple drink. Super simple drinks this week. We're going to make this one with Irish whiskey. Oh, man. Get ready. Who's got dry mouth all week? Me. Who's going to drink alcohol? Me. There we go. So 2 ounces of whiskey. And a half an ounce of amaretto. Still taking something up on the other side. And I got fancy and I cut lemons into this too because I thought that would be kind of. This is very much an old man drink. This is the kind of drink your dad would probably be out sipping.
Right.
I muted my camera during the shake so that you would think I was staying on brand, but I didn't know you could still see me.
No, it's good. So here we go. That's it. Just those 2 in and just give it a swirl. And that's how simple it is. Starting to get cold here. In the house with no furnace, so this will be a good drink. So, Pazuzu.
There you go.
Pazuzu. I made my own concoction.
Where do you have it?
Oh, my same old thing. Midori vodka, Malibu rum. You have to have a third ingredient in there just to give it a little twist.
I'm the lightweight tonight. I'm only having tea.
Well, that works. We encourage teetotaling.
I
want to say hi to Sandy and Tony out there tonight too. I just had dinner with them and it was great.
Hi guys, thanks for watching the show.
Yep, thanks a lot.
If you are watching the show, and thanks to everyone who did show up here in the chat. Thank you so much for hanging out and watching with us tonight.
Right.
We hope you're.
I saw somebody mention too. It's Christmas in this house already.
Yeah. We saw. We were trying to not pay attention to that icon of evil that you erected in your home.
Like literally November 1st, it turned into Christmas. Christmas is Becca's second favorite time after Halloween.
Do you have a greeter at your door?
Yes, we do. It's copied.
So I don't have any ads to show for Night of the Sorcerers, but I did put together this little gallery of stuff I featured on the page lately.
Awesome.
I'm doing a series from London, and we just did Eyes of Laura Mars on the program about a month ago, or maybe even longer. These weeks go by so quickly.
Oh my God, yeah.
But look at this. This is a design that I've never seen used in the United States, so it's exclusively for the UK, I presume. Faye Dunaway giving a little of that famous leg action. I want to look beautiful. I want my legs to look beautiful in the ad. Here's an interesting ad for Damien Omen 2.
Oh, wow.
This design was the main design in the UK, and I love this even more than anything they used in the United States to promote this movie. And I love Damien Omen 2 way more than the original Omen.
I was just going to ask. I bet you like 2 more than 1.
Yeah, I did. I did as well.
It's better. Like 2 is trashy right on the up front. The original is trashy and tries to look like it's classy.
Yeah, kind of like Amityville does the same thing.
Right.
Look at this. That time Chuck Norris put on bell bottoms and chased Jamie Lee Curtis with a fish knife on Halloween. Here's the movie they made for it.
That's really weird.
Oh, I love that.
I don't know what they were thinking.
Hello to Anthony. Anthony just said hello, and there's Sandy. Hi, guys.
Well, they also had this show had a lot of movie market books, like a whole box of them for sale. Unfortunately, each one only had one movie ad in each one. It was mostly just sales information and how to selling like ads to sell what do you call it? Projectors and movie equipment. They were from '74, but one had the Christ conspiracy on the cover of the early Canon film. It was pretty wild. I would look through to see if there was anything else, but nothing else that you could use.
Magic.
I love this.
Yeah, this really blew my mind. And here's something I missed out on totally. These little telephone numbers that would pop up where you could call and hear something associated with the film. I don't know what you even listened to.
Nobody wants to listen to that puppet.
Yeah, I don't know what the
I couldn't
magic
even watch the ads for this movie as a kid. I was like, that puppet's gonna find me if I watch
Fuck that puppet.
Yeah, there was one for Black Christmas when it was in LA.
That's perfect, right?
So did Billy answer when you dialed that number? Here's a unique ad design for that I've never seen. Yeah.
It would Black Christmas, it would answer and it would say the calls are coming from inside your house. And then you would
another trailer that I couldn't watch because I was afraid that baby would find me.
That movie, those movies are so classic. Those movies are so classic 70s. Aren't they just great though? I mean, there were so many, and this is something Bill and I shared, over the years a lot, is a love for the ad campaigns for these two films. And, just all the 70s posters were spectacular. The productions compared to stuff today, I think, anyway. I mean, it was a golden time for posters. And the campaigns for both of these films was tremendous. I mean, all we did was talk about it. You couldn't go see it; you were too young. But all you did was talk about these films.
That was
not that way today.
That was a lot to do with the film's experience when it came out. It was just that
the newspaper. You pulled out the newspaper and went and looked at the newspaper and saw all these great ads.
Here's one that I missed when we did Prey on the show.
Wow, yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah,
I'm not quite sure. Is that what is that Rorschach thing going on up there? Is that an eyeball or is it somebody hanging upside down or?
It's someone hanging upside down, I think. But
that's really nice.
I think they meant for it to be an eye.
Or is it a vagina or something or what the hell?
It's a representation of someone's colon.
Yeah.
I love everything about this ad.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. Here's one.
Oh,
I love that movie. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I bought the, of course I have the multi-region and I bought the import Blu-ray for this movie. It's beautiful. And I love it. I love to watch it with the Sentinel. It's a good night of 70s satanic horror.
I love the font bill for scene and studio.
Yeah.
Both of those are like gorgeous. And this whole ad is great because it's it's sort of exorcism. I also like that it has the finger destroyed where the ring should be, which like you won't get until you see the movie.
What an ensemble cast.
Oh, I know. Catherine Ross, Sam Elliott's ass.
Yeah. I
love everyone in that movie.
Roger Daltrey was good in that film too.
Yeah.
Really, for the 10 seconds he was on screen.
Well, there's the 10 seconds they got him, so
he was only on set for a day, I bet.
Probably.
We're going on tour. We've got to get this going. Chop, chop.
I think doesn't that movie have someone that's in one of our movies from next week, Bill? Isn't Charles Gray in The Legacy?
Of course he is.
Yeah.
What movie are you showing next week?
What?
The secret until the reveal. But that's a hint for next week.
That could be anything. He was in everything.
Yeah.
You'll see.
You'll see.
He was you know what? He was really, going from the Bond films to like doing The Devil Rides Out, and of course this movie. And Rocky Horror, right? Wasn't he in Rocky? I mean, he was a genre icon that we seldom we talk about Pleasance and we talk about Price and and all those guys and Cushing and Christopher, but he really was there. He was part of that whole thing. He was in so many movies. I had heard a rumor he was offered the position of Dr. Loomis in Halloween. That was a rumor before Pleasance took it. I don't know. I think he was original. I don't know where I read it or heard it years ago. He was actually offered it before Pleasance was offered it. So
I dropped the link for our first feature in the chat just now. It's on Tubi, so you can just go type Night of the Sorcerers at Tubi and get it queued up. We'll give you. We're not going away just yet, but it's a little bit of an early preparation. This movie, Gene, you were the one who first turned me on to Night of the Sorcerers because I had never seen it.
Really? Did you watch it over here?
No, you just told me about it. I think I rented it from Bruce at Incredibly Strange.
Well, yeah, I went through a renaissance like in the 2000s. I went through this crazy renaissance. It was ironically, I think it was spurned on by my dad's death, actually. You know, I mean, not to be too personal, but it's like my brain changes like when that happens to you. I started getting into all this stuff that I thought about doing, but I never did. And one of the things that I became insanely crazy about was tracking down all these rare movies. I would pick a director and I would find everything that I could find about it. That happened about the early 2000s. And this Amando de Ossorio was one of them. And I remember I bought these. What I didn't get from Bruce, I actually bought the VHSs off of eBay, and I transferred them to DVD-R, and then went back and sold them to somebody else. You know, I made transfers, and that was the way that these were available, unless you got them like from like an import label or something or whatever. And it was that way for a long time before they actually got a DVD.
I have an entire wallet full of those DVDs somewhere, Gene.
Right.
So many of those.
Right, exactly. And it was just like, I always say that when I do your shows or I do anyone's show, my show, people should always, part of the passion of this whole experience, at least for my generation, all three of our generations, is there's so much below the surface. And if you see a movie by a director, you should be seeking all the other films. You shouldn't just watch one and think it's kind of good or whatever. Reach out, and Sam, you're excellent at this. Like, you're rattling off. You're beyond me with all the the spaghetti westerns and all this stuff. I knew they were there. I never watched them, and that's what's important about this, because it's just like getting a novel from your favorite writer and another novel, right?
I think that's my fascination, is that like one with Fulci is movies post 1979.
Right.
I'm like 25 years of movies before that.
Right. I saw House by the Cemetery in the movie theater.
Yeah.
I did. I saw that in Gates of Hell and the Beyond and all this stuff. And a lot of times they played in the Pittsburgh market on a weekend only. It was like a limited engagement, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then they were gone, and they really don't do that so much, I don't think, anymore, of course, because of the commercial. I mean, they play the DCPs now like certain nights of the week, but I remember going to these movies with my first boyfriend, and we were big horror fans. That's all we did on the weekend, was just watch horror movies. And these Italian films meant so much to us, Demons, Suspiria, all this stuff. And it was like, holy shit, it was a whole experience I'm
sure you felt the same way when Goblin played, when Demons started. It was
oh my God, right. I forgot to say we were there.
Yeah, everybody went nuts as soon as the first Demon came out on the screen. Like, it was like this huge rush of applause. And it really was emotional, because it's like
I forgot you were there. I forgot.
Yeah.
You said so. To preface this, a week ago, Thursday or whatever, it was a long day. A lot of stuff happened. But anyway, long story short, I went to the show, the Goblin show, which if you've never seen Goblin live, it's an absolute must. All these years I never got around to it, and I went, and Sam and Becca were sitting in the seats in front of, and with me was the whole cast of the Living Dead Museum, because what we had done earlier that day was took Claudio Simonetti on a private tour of the Monroeville Mall, which was quite an experience. I became his personal camera person for the day, which was, he's so funny. He just kept handing me. I walked off with his cell phone in my pocket twice, right?
Wow.
but he was so tickled, and he was rattling off to us all the clips and stuff that were coming at the end, and they had to be very careful about what they showed because of the copyrights. Like, there's only so many times that you can show so many clips live in concert and all this stuff. He was talking about the rights, and what he had said he wanted to do, which neither of you have heard, is that he would love to obtain the rights to be able to perform the whole soundtrack of Dawn of the Dead at the Monroeville Mall. He would love to do a live show at the mall with the movie showing in the background, and with the rights with Rubenstein and everything. That's just not apparently they don't have a good relationship. I don't know the details. I was told that by a number of people, but that he said to me, it's like, my dream is to play this movie in this mall. And I was like, wow, where did that come from? So
I think I was the only person when they started playing the card player. I
wow, right
out of my seat. I was like, yes.
Well, you know, and here's the thing about him. He was friends with a lot of people in Pittsburgh, and his grandmother, Claudio Simonetti's grandmother, is from Pittsburgh, which is even stranger. So it was like the whole evening was a really weird, you know, every couple seconds it was something different at that show that you never would have expected hearing. We
got more of Dawn, I think, than other cities get, because other cities got like Tenebrae and a few different songs that we didn't get. So
that's all right. I don't care.
Whatever we got, I was happy with.
No, they did Phenomena, they did Demons, they did. It was amazing. It was and it was one of the loudest shows.
Demons is the most perfect movie ever. It's just like a roller coaster, and it's like it's just nonstop. It doesn't really even. I watched the Shudder 101 Scariest Things, and they're like, someone's like, yeah, it's kind of stupid. I'm like, who cares? Like, it's great. No. It doesn't need to have a deep plot. It's like, why does a helicopter crash in?
That was the biggest thing when I saw it in the theater back when it was, you know, out in distribution in the 80s. Was I remember it was maybe a half full audience, because, you know, no one knew what it was. But when that helicopter came through, people were like, what the hell is that about? You know, that was their moment of total disbelief, you know.
That and Bob showing up at the end rescuing everybody.
Totally.
Which is the craziest end. Like, the whole ending of that movie is nuts. Michelle Suave showing up in the beginning with a mask on. Like, there's so much shit in that movie that like makes me overjoyed. Bill, when they showed Bobby Rhodes coming up out of the seats, like with his eyes glowing, and the music was like blasting super loud. Pretty fucking awesome.
And we had a bar here, which I worked at, called Metropole in Pittsburgh, which was even another weird Pittsburgh. Another weird Pittsburgh connection, right? You know,
maybe a movie next week was also shot at Metropole, but that's all I'm saying. And the German one, not the
but I'll tell you a funny story. Remember when Beauty and the Beast was on Sci-Fi Network? Ron Perlman shot all the promos at Metropole here in Pittsburgh. They rented the space out, and actually we inherited all the props from the Sci-Fi TV channel segments, and that became part of our Thursday night dance floor experience. Did you guys ever know that? Bill, you should have known that, right? Like the towers.
If I did, I forgot.
There's towers that we had that we ran lights through and all this stuff on the second floor, and a bunch of the ivy and all that shit. It was actually left behind by the production company that was involved, the local production company that worked with the Sci-Fi Channel. And Ron Perlman actually came and filmed. This is when Beauty and the Beast, I guess it was called, premiered on Sci-Fi TV. So they shot in the inside of Metropole because they had the smoke machines and everything. I'm not kidding you guys. Honest to God, it was the weirdest thing. You know, we're in the offices and 25 feet away, they're shooting promos for the Sci-Fi Channel. But there's a fun fact for you.
It was the perfect place for it, too.
That was just crazy. Now it's a high-end 1600 Smallman is now high-end office building, which is, I drive past every day because I work 2 blocks from it. It's very depressing to think that.
Well, it's like, when Stigmata came out, I was like, oh, they're going to show Metropole in this movie. No, they're not.
No, all right, guys.
Let's get into the witches and jungle magic.
Night of the Sorcerers.
Just remember this. Remember that. I'll see you in a little bit.
Yeah.
I'll drop the link into chat again so you can highlight, copy, and paste whatever you got to do, or just go to Tubi and enter Night of the Sorcerers. Make sure you come back after the movie is over. We'll have lots to say about that. And